if we're going to move forward, I would prefer the FDA authorize a first-in-human clinical trial, because if we're going to start doing this and actually placing the genetically modified pig kidneys in human beings, I would like to do it in a context where we're doing it systematically. We have selection criteria for who receives the organ, and we're gathering better information about whether it will work. If you think back to the two pig heart transplantations, both of those patients died in about 2 months. I don't think you can conclude from that because, pig hearts don't function. These were both incredibly sick human beings who were very frail. They may not have worked simply because of their underlying health conditions. And so we need better scientific information before we invest more in this kind of work.
You're making me think there's the question of clinical trials and what kind of scientific data we need to gather. Also, just the importance of a public conversation about this, about educating people on the risks and rewards. Where does that conversation end?
I think it's in a nascent stage. You can find a number of early public opinion polls where people are asked about this. Recently, there was an effort, I believe last year, in Germany to do a form of public deliberation, which resulted in, cautious support for doing this. And so I do suspect that the public would support moving forward on this, but I think given the number of big issues that it raises around animal welfare, around zoonotic disease, it's important for the public to have a trust that this is being done for the right reasons and in the right way.
Michael Guzmano of Lehigh University, where he is a professor of health policy. Thank you so much for talking this through with us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News. Today, workers at a Mercedes plant in Alabama have filed for an election to join the United Auto Workers Union. This is a big deal in a state where anti-union attitudes are strong. Stephen Basaha of the Gulf States Newsroom reports on why some Mercedes workers now say they need a union. This Mercedes factory is practically a small city. It's got roughly 6,000 workers making hundreds of thousands of luxury SUVs each year, some selling for more than $200,000. In other words, it's a big plant making big cars, big price tags, that bring in big revenue.
Man, this is a cash cow. Mercedes-Benz, we build the big SUVs.
Jeremy Kimbrell has been working at this plant for 24 years. And he says it's time more of that cash goes to workers like him. For that, he says they need a union.
No way should a person be paid less money just because the place that they lay their head at night and sleep happens to be on the soil that's called Alabama. That needs to end.
Now, this is happening in a state where anti-union attitudes are so strong they're baked into the Alabama Constitution. Voters in 2016 added a right-to-work amendment preventing unions or employers from forcing anyone to join the union and pay dues. Plus, a large reason Mercedes and so many car makers have opened plants in the South in the past few decades is because there are so few unions here. Time and time again, Southern auto workers have handedly voted no in union elections. And it stopped many union campaigns well before they even got to a vote. It's because some Mercedes workers, like Jay White, believe a union would just cause more harm than good.
If we force Mercedes to go even higher in pay, we're going to lose in other areas, and that may mean jobs.
Besides, he says the pay here is actually pretty good, especially compared to the other limited opportunities in West Alabama.
They are by far the highest paying employer in this area.
But a lot of other workers are not comparing their pay to Alabama jobs. They're comparing their pay to UAW jobs. The UAW successfully negotiated higher wages and benefits from the big three automakers last year. It's given the union a needed win to sell to Southern workers like the ones at Mercedes, who've seen their great pay fall behind in recent years. Workers say a two-tier system introduced in 2020 capped wages for new hires like Louisa Chandler. She would never make as much as workers hired before then. That angered and motivated workers like her